Hi everyone, I'm Steve Parks, and in this video we're going to talk about sitting in the power, what sitting in the power is, how you sit in that power. But there's probably a selection from 1 to 5 that I'm going to go through in this video, and I will put some extra content on the pages as I go. So sitting in the power, what is it, and how do you do it? So the easiest way I can explain it, it's like an upgraded form of meditation. It's the next form of meditation after you get into meditation. So to concentrate on meditation, all meditation is just literally going into a safe place, getting yourself relaxed, put some calming music on maybe just to relax you, and literally sitting in nothingness. Now you can't meditate while you're thinking about work tomorrow or going shopping or picking the kids up or whatever fears and worries that you've got in your human world. You've got to just forget that for a second and put it to one side. So how I would describe that is basically when I come in and I want to do a 15-20 minute meditation to calm myself down. I come in, I get myself sorted, I put an intention out there to the universe to say, right, I would like to sit in my own space. And this is really, really important before you try and blend with spirit. You've got to know yourself first. So you've got to sit and look at yourself within the meditation, ask for signs, what you need to work with, what you need to heal, how you feel in yourself, because that's really what's taking your life energy up at the moment. But when you shut that down and you're in the nothingness, then you've got the chance to go into the power of spirit. So all it is first of all, I believe that you have to be able to blend with your own spirit, with your own reality, with your own pasts, nows, and everything that's going on in your life. You've got to sit there and you've got to sort of like concentrate on exactly how you feel about the whole situation within you. Now once you start learning about yourself, learning actually who you are, then that's when you're comfortable within yourself, and then you can start sitting in the power a little bit more with spirit. So if you're not psychically aware, so if you're lacking on psychic abilities as well, and you feel that you haven't got no sort of psychic senses or anything like that, then that's one of the first things that we got to work on, because you're sitting in the meditation, you're in a nothingness, you're not thinking about anything, and when you're psychic, you will feel things go through your body, or you will feel the energies coming through. Now whether that's spirit, or whether that's literally you're just sitting with your own soul, your own spirit guides and your own essence. So it's very hard to actually tell the difference between that. So I would say the very first thing that we need to do really is to sit with ourselves, with our own soul, get to used to know the inner you. Now everyone knows the inner you, but unfortunately we live in a human body and everyone's got masks. So people won't be completely open to the elements because, for one, they don't want you to know. For two, there might be guilt, shame, regret. There could be a lot of different things there. So that, in essence, that's what lowers the vibration of that person to be able to get a grip on their own reality and their own meditation and calming down their mind. So once you can get into that purpose and you can sit, you can just have some quiet time, maybe put some music on or something like that, or some meditation music, or some tunes or anything that will settle you from actually jumping out of it. So another thing that people struggle with as well is noise around. So if you're sitting in a quiet space and you're about 10 minutes into your meditation and you hear a noise, or or something happens, or it automatically jumps. So you've got to try learning to sort of like work around them sort of noises and that, and it not to actually affect you within your meditation, because it's a bit like, you know, you're always aware when you're in meditation, you're always aware, but it's just about shutting down the human mind for a little while, just so it can recharge and actually have direct, you know, blending with the spirit world. So, you know, when a loved one comes in and you're sitting in the power, and you're sitting in that meditation of that power, then, you know, all sorts of things could happen. So what I mean by that, in a nice thing, you might have sudden thoughts about someone, or you might have sudden thoughts about this, or, you know, you feel that that's going to happen, or you feel that this person needs help because of this happening and that's happening. Now, believe it or not, that's actually, you know, your spirit guide bringing through that spirit to give that information, but you don't know the difference. But you're just thinking it's imagination, or you know, it's very random. Why am I thinking that? But there's always a purpose for it. So whether you're thinking that and then 2 days down the line you bump into Jane, and, you know, you keep getting the word Ted in your head, Ted, poor old Teddy's dead, you know, or something like that, then, you know, the spirit will normally bring through what you need, and it's not always at that specific time when you need it. It might be a day before, it might be an hour before, but it might be in your last meditation and you've got 2 sitters the following day, and everything that you was getting within your meditation, you sort of like say to the sitter the following day, and they go, oh my God, absolutely, wow, yeah, that's exactly what's happening. How did you know that? You know, and I go, well, Fred told me. Or, you know, that, you know, I feel that there's a grandfather here that's trying to direct you in doing this, or you know, warning you about a certain situation or something like that. So, you know, that's the easiest way that I can explain it. But, you know, the first thing is really you have to really work on yourself first before you can work with spirit. And that is so important. You know, you've got spiritual responsibilities. You've got, you know, if you can't help and work on someone else if you're not really helped yourself, if that means, you know, if that makes sense. And, you know, it's all down to spiritual discipline as well. So, you know, spirit are not going to just come along willy-nilly and just start talking to you about random things and you know, jumping into your ethos, because they're not allowed to. You know, you've got to give permission to be able to get into their, you know, and that all comes from spirit guides, and that will all come into another video. So I'm trying not to get off the category of actually sitting in the power, but once you've actually, you know, performed that and you've mastered it, it's that easy. You can actually feel the healing coming through. So what I mean by that, you might get spiders' webs all over your face, you might be getting twitches through your body, you might be getting a light electrical current go through you, and it gives you that like feeling like, you know, and there's many different ways spirit will come through to, you know, show you that they're with you. You know, in the first instance of it all, it can be quite daunting and it can be quite fearful, but, you know, you've just got to allow yourself to calm, know that you're in a lovable place and no one's out to hurt you. And obviously, you know, if it feels good for you, put you know, some protection around you before you do it. So, you know, that's on many different aspects as well. So, you know, some mediums and some healers and spiritual people believe that you don't have to give protection because you're naturally protected anyway. I believe that, you know, it doesn't harm putting a little bit of natural protection around you, even though you are naturally protected anyway. And my dog is about to let herself in, and I'll tell you what, she's going to scratch on that door in any minute and ruin my video. But it's not going to stop me. So, as I say, going back into the power, all I do, I try and concentrate on between 15 and 20 minutes start off with, just so, you know, it's not too much for you to deal with. And as you progress, as you sit into the nothingness and you start, you know, relaxing yourself, you know, you'll be so surprised at how your body feels afterwards. But, you know, it's like anything, you've got to have the belief that it's going to be happening, because then really, you know, you're asking for it, it's going to happen, and you're going to make, you know, it's going to make you feel a lot better and more confident in what you do. Now, you know, the biggest problem with this stuff really is in mediumship and stuff like that. People just don't understand that it's such a big part of doing what you do on your spiritual path, purely because really, you know, we've got probably 80% of our all of our movements, energies and all of that sort of stuff, but the other 20% is hidden, and we don't often gain access to that unless you get yourself in a mind state to be able to shut that 80% of you out. And then you'll start getting the information come through, and that's when spirit will start blending with you. So it's very much between the lines. You know, you've got to be in that position, like they're up there, we're down here, and we've sort of like got to balance ourselves out so the levels are the same, so then we can start the communication with the spirit. And you know, really it's just as simple as that. And the more you do it, the more accurate you get, the more confidence you get, and it ends up being out a really lovely experience. And then obviously once you've got confidence with that within yourself, maybe you might want to go into an open circle or a closed circle with other people. Again, you know, there's discipline in this as well, because again, I think I said about it earlier, when you're with other people and you're meditating, you know, you might be sitting there for 10 minutes and someone might cough or sneeze, or there might be a noise at the end of the room. You know, you've got to sort of like get yourself used to any outside influences, noises. You've just got to bypass so it doesn't kick you out of, you know, jumping out that zone. So I hope that has helped and spoke a little bit about sitting in the power, but I will do some more videos based on this anyway. All right.